Hello, everyone. Very good morning to all of you. So, starting with the discussion regarding another set of important topics. So, conversion only for reservation without actual belief is a fraud on the Constitution. It's been stated by Supreme Court. So, this would lead to again defeating the social ethos of the policy of reservation or the intention behind positive discrimination or affirmative action when it comes to the policy of reservation. It would also, if the conversion is only for the purpose of seeking benefits under the reservation policy and the person does not have actual belief in that particular religion, it would also somewhere lead to violation of the secular fabric of India and definitely will violate the constitutional morality at the same time. So here a few facts are there. So Ranganath Mishra Commission is there. Its report is related to the religious and the linguistic minorities. So it had recommended scheduled caste quota for the Dalit Christians and the Muslims. And Article 25 is the fundamental right to freedom of religion. Then violence against Hindus in Bangladesh is a concern. So rights of Hindus and their protection. So India expresses deep concern over ISKCON leaders' arrest in Bangladesh. So their safety and security is currently at risk, and definitely the friendship, the spirit of friendship between India and Bangladesh also stands contrary given the rising atrocities against Hindus. Now, here, regarding the doctors and the health, it is talking about the angle of ethical usage or the ethical decision on the part of the doctors. So, our heart patients getting stents they don't need. So, we are seeing they are being misused or they are still being used when there is uh, other alternatives which are also present that are more suitable. So there's certain data when it comes to the decision making regarding whether a stent needs to be inserted when there is again a blocked artery. So it depends upon the percentage of the blockage. Like angioplasty and stents, they are for the patients with more than 80% of the blockage. And in India, annually, close to 5 lakh to 7 lakh of angioplasties they are performed. So here, it needs to be again on the basis of valid medical details and the indications. And if the suppose the blockage is somewhere between 50 to 60%, still angioplasty is done. So that is going to stay in your body for a longer time period. So that has its own repercussions over a longer time period. And alternatives which are there are like drug coated balloons are there made for stentless angioplasty. So there the arteries they remain in their natural forms with less need for the blood thinners. And this also keeps the arteries ready for the future bypass if that is required in future if the situation worsens. So we need again the role of regulatory authorities, the national pharmaceutical pricing authorities, specifically regarding the cost of the operation. So it is somewhere between 1.5 lakh rupees to 3.5 lakh rupees in the private hospitals. So this becomes an important element of the increased or non-uniform out-of-pocket expenditure. So there also we see that in India currently 75% of the healthcare is provided by the private sector. So role of public sector needs to increase. Like we have the scheme of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Also, we need to make sure that qualified cardiologists they are taking the decisions and they are doing the operations. Then we need to open more of labs in order to bring down the cost. And we have seen there are certain instances where doctors are taking bribes. So, uphold the ethical practices and prioritize patients' health should be the sole basis of taking a decision, not just related to angioplasty, but every decision that is being taken by a doctor. So, if doctors like go for a second opinion, that would be again more preferable. You need to take certain time to think more about the decision before finally going ahead with it. And the doctors shouldn't be so cynical about again a patient's health until and unless the situation is very worse and serious. Then is blue light from the screens really making us sleepless? So there's been a study done by this that the digital screens and the LED lights, they really disrupting our sleep pattern. So this is true. Like sleep disruption at night and sleep displacement. So, displacement is when you're using technology past the bedtime, it can lead to sleep loss. So, the technology use was linked to less sleep in the instances. This was unrelated to being exposed to blue light from the screens. So, again, we need to have a regulated screen time also and ensure that we are not getting addicted to it. Then disaster management regarding the tropical cyclone. Of late, we are seeing a deep depression being formed over the Bay of Bengal, and it's likely to intensify into a cyclonic storm. So alerts have been issued. So here the role of IMD is important, and particularly IMD also trying to make a shift towards hyper localized early warning systems, automated early warning systems, where we are also using synthetic aperture radar based satellites, or talk about ICRISAT, or even NISAR, which is again collaboration between ISRO and NASA. And then we always talk about the model of Odisha, specifically when it comes to dealing with cyclonic storms. So from a republic to a republic of unequals. So since 26 November is celebrated as the Constitution Day, so republic is when the head of the republic is an elected representative and the head is again a nominal head. So that is the president of a country. So in case president of India. So we are celebrating 75 years of the adoption of the constitution, constitutional governance in independent India. And we know that India, we follow constitutional supremacy. So our constitution makers, they accepted the liberal framework. Constitution is a living document which has evolved over time and it is still evolving to the changing needs and aspirations and ideals of the people. So it definitely played a positive role in intervening, reducing the inequality due to poor social indicators at the time of independence. Then we gradually move forward and we agreed to create a liberal political state in India, where considering social and economic inequalities, they felt that a complete withdrawal of the state would perpetuate the existing inequalities and worsen it further. So the role of public sector was equally emphasized initially. Later on, we talk about disinvestment or privatization or opening up the economy in 1991. So it reflects the John Rawls egalitarian liberalism principle, including three important principles of equal basic liberties, equal opportunities, and difference. The Constitution aims to create an egalitarian society. So Part 3, fundamental rights, DPSP is Part 4. They reflect all the above three principles of egalitarian liberalism. So Article 38 of the Constitution of DPSP insists that states shall strive to minimize the inequalities. So we're talking about positive discrimination. So the example is again reservation. So inequalities of income, eliminate inequalities in status, facilities, and opportunities. Then Article 39 emphasizes economic system ought not to result in concentration of wealth, means of production, and to the common detriment. So here we talk about progressive taxation is another example of reducing the wealth concentration or income inequality particularly. So economic reforms were also based on this fundamental idea of reducing inequality. So here 1991 reforms become an example of that, opening up the economy and providing equality of status and opportunity. So recent data showcases that top 1% of the earners had a share of less than 21% of the total income in 1930s, but now this has increased. So this gap reduced where the top 1% earners, they had a share of 10 is 6% of the total income in 1980s. So it was gradually declining from 1930s to 1980s. And after the new liberal reforms of 1990s, major structural changes happened with the LPG reforms in India, prioritized private capital investment, slow withdrawal of welfare interventionist state. So in a way, we can say we followed the laissez-faire policy, which is again proposed by the classical economist. And so as a consequence, we saw top 1% of the income had reached now again 22% of the total income, pushing back to an inequality situation which is worse than the pre-independence period. So this evolution or change becomes important from 1930s to 1980s. It reduced, and after that it has increased to again 22%. So it is projected that it might increase to 40% by 2023, 22-23, which is considered very high. So there is this State of Inequality in India report 2022 prepared by the Institute of Competitiveness, highlighted the periodic labor force survey in 2019 recorded an average monthly wage of rupees 25,000 is being earned by top 10%, remaining 90% they earn less than uh, uh, 25,000 a month. So it shows extreme inequality in India. How the majority are being pushed into poverty, violating constitutional ideology. So that's why we talk about reducing the multi-dimensional poverty in India and shift to shift from minimum wage to living wage is crucial. And also, for example, in policy formulation, like in monetary policy, we talk about that climate change needs to be an important factor in deciding the stance of the monetary policy or the changes in the repo rate in order to deal with the supply side of inflation, because inflation is one of the major factors or the real time factor which directly impacts the real income of the people and hence the consumer behavior, also the consumer confidence somewhere. So milk, meat, and egg production increased in 2023-24, according to the latest estimates by the Basic Animal Husbandry Statistics 2024, prepared by Animal Husbandry Department. So we see that the country produced an estimated 240 million tons of milk during this year, and this is compounded annual growth of 5.6% over the past 10 years. So 2014-15, the milk production was only 146 million tons. So you can see that it is increased to um, 240 million tons now. And India is definitely the world's top milk producer. We are the second largest egg production globally. 16% of the milk is produced in Uttar Pradesh, ranks at the top, followed by Rajasthan, then Madhya Pradesh. In terms of egg production, estimated 142 billion tons. So these three things, milk, egg, and meat, they are very crucial in order to deal with the nutritional security, particularly. So, it's an important element of, again, reducing the multidimensional poverty, creating human resource, which will determine the quality of the labor force production and their work efficiency. And also, it would be linked to the economic growth and ensuring that we are not trapped into the middle income category by India. So, ensuring that they are equitably available as per the regional demand would play an important role in their last mile availability. So, integrating them with, again, like Ocean 2.0 already is focusing upon that, and PDS a scheme would somewhere be playing important role in this sense. So prioritize making PACS more viable and transparent. So Primary Agricultural Credit Society, recently we saw a summit is being organized on similar lines. So Maharashtra Cooperative Bank during Diamond Jubilee celebration of the National Federation of State Cooperative Banks has been awarded, and to prioritize again availability of formal credit to the agriculture sector, to the farmers, so making it more economically viable, more transparent and modern, more multidimensional. So collective prosperity and equal profit sharing should be the objective. So again, district level cooperative institutions are going to play important role, and the concern is dilution of the cooperative spirit in state and the district level cooperative institutions. So that needs to be strengthened. Spirit needs to be revived back. Role of NABARD is important here in this case. And currently, like there are 34 state cooperative banks, 352 district cooperative banks, 1 lakh PACS in the country right now. So we might think about increasing their deeper penetration, increasing their density. Again, we can see the PACS as a common service center, which might make available the E and the basic services in the villages. So common software in 8 languages that is also being used seamlessly to link the state and district cooperative banks, so that people are also being made aware about the benefits and what services are actually available. So regional language becomes very important as a medium of generating awareness. So they play ultimately very important role in financial inclusion and inclusive growth. So timely reiteration verdict on the amendments to the preamble is a reminder of the worth of the secular values in India. So recently there was a petition filed in Supreme Court. So it was regarding the amendments which were done in the preamble under the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So it is stated that it is pseudo-secular and something are inherently secular in the India's secular fabric or the democratic fabric. So in terms of economic policy, like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he opposed the amendments to include the word socialist by arguing Constitution Assembly should not tie down future generations to any particular form of economy. So India, however, we have evolved as an economy also, and preamble adopted again along with the Constitution 1949, but were controversially added through the 42nd Amendment Act during the emergency. So, S.R. Bomai case 1994 ruled secularism is the basic feature of the Constitution. So, it's a part of the basic doctrine. So, in another case, it stated secularism essentially represents the nation's commitment to treat persons of all faiths equally and without discrimination. So, the term socialist, it's clear that its presence in preamble has not been an impediment to the adoption of laws and policies. Rather, we can say it has facilitated the measures being taken by the like either the administration or the legislature or the judiciary. So it's a facilitator. It plays an important role in interpreting the other parts of the constitution where we see certain kind of confusion or we don't get a clear understanding. So there again, the fundamental role of preamble becomes crucial. And then 44th Constitution Amendment Act. So Constitution completes 75 years of existence. That in itself is a major achievement. It emphasizes the role, the crucial role, central and the fundamental role that Constitution has played in where India stands today. So Trump was new tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. So these are the measures taken only against these three countries. So it would impose 25% tax on all the products entering the country from Canada and Mexico, and additional 10% from the goods from China. So this was again an expected step that we've discussed that what could be the possible policy changes made under Trump 2.0. So might fuel another form of trade war because he prioritizes reducing the current account deficit. But again, counter to this or in contradiction to this, we might see inflation increasing in the US economy because imposition of tariff leads to imported inflation also. So more protectionist measures, or again, this is also being stated as re-globalization. So Russia eyes India as a hub for train manufacturing. So in terms of particularly manufacturing industry and make in India, we are seeing different diversified industries are being focused upon in a specialized manner when we are focusing on creating cluster-based development in a hub and spoke model. So particularly trade manufacturing, and here we are seeing the role of Russia. So Russia and FDI related to this would be playing important role in terms of manufacturing of trains and their components in India and meet our domestic requirements. So reduce the import dependence. It will generate more of jobs, will lead to technology transfer. So we have this huge domestic requirement and will lead to more specialization in India itself. So currently we see TMH is a major stakeholder in the Kinneth Railway Solutions. So we have signed a contract worth rupees 55,000 crores with Indian Railways to produce 1920 Vande Bharat sleeper coaches and maintain them for 35 years. So while we are focusing on manufacturing, again, we can simultaneously focus upon ensuring that no train incidents are happening on the basis of any kind of defects or issues related to the manufacturing aspect. So, former Supreme Court judge, the Green Judge, he was known as the Green Judge, Kuldeep Singh dies 92. So he was only the second member from the Sikh community to serve in the Supreme Court. So the various landmark judgments related to him again focused upon the environmental law, and that's why he was known as the Green Judge. So MC Mehta case in air pollution continues till date on different aspects. Often again that is stated that again right to life is very important, very crucial. Environmental justice is another angle. So he was a part of the generation of judges in the 90s who held the view that Supreme Court's role was to deliver substantive justice even when it meant not adhering to stringent procedural laws. Then landmark judgment 1993, second judge's case, one of the top most like consequential Supreme Court rulings introduced the again second judge case, it introduced the collegium system of appointing the judges. So he was a part of the second judge's case also. And After the retirement also, he played a very important role. So he was involved in setting up People's Commission to investigate the human rights violations by security personnel during Punjab's terrorism years. Between hope and hurdles on the high seas. So here we are seeing India's recent signing of the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Agreement, which is known as the High Seas Treaty. So attracted both praise and skepticism about the decision. So, when it comes to the development related to the blue economy, it would be playing an important role. So, it seeks to protect marine ecosystem and promote sustainable use of the resources in areas beyond national jurisdiction. So, beyond 200 nautical miles, which is the exclusive economic zone. So that is known as the high seas. So here, United Nations Convention, the law of seas is there. Then BBNJ treaty it follows earlier accords on deep sea mining and fisheries management. So India also has a mission of deep ocean mission, which will be related to the mining of the polymetallic nodules. So doing that in a transparent and fair manner, deciding again which region would be allocated to which country, because of late we are seeing certain allegations being imposed against China that it is unilaterally going ahead with deep sea mining. So that is very crucial for energy security also, and again that needs to be done in a sustainable manner in order to protect the marine ecosystem also. So, conserving the marine biodiversity, ensuring equitable sharing of benefits, marine protection of again the genetic resources, and then mandating environmental impact assessments for the projects being taken up. So, challenges here we see it lacks a clear implementation roadmap. That's a challenge that needs to again the apart from this, with only 14 of the 104 signatories they have ratified the agreement, so 60 more needs to ratify it so that this high seas treaty it can be implemented. So signing and then it needs to be ratified in order to implement a particular treaty. Like South China Sea disputes again in the Indo-Pacific region in maritime territories, like Nine Dash Line is there. So overlapping claims complicate the consensus on marine protected areas. So also Southeast Asian nations remain divided on whether high seas national parks that could affect the territorial claims and limit economic opportunities. So structural complexities are one of the issues and the challenges. Then Bay of Bengal states they echo similar apprehensions about the MPAs affecting livelihood and the resource access. So the structural thing needs more clarity and more discussion and agreements over it. One of the most contentious provisions here is again the marine genetic resources and their protection, and also if there is any discovery, so that needs to be equitably shared with other member countries. So it obligates the nations to share the profits derived from exploiting these resources. So risk is that it might be undermined by the wealthier nations. There might be underreporting of their activities. So we have the Convention on Biological Diversity potentially disadvantages the smaller states of the developing countries or countries in the global south. Another area is capacity building and technology transfers. Another challenge for the low and middle income countries. So ocean science, also all these areas related to the blue economy. So there's asymmetry, which threatens to perpetuate more of inequalities. So even the treaty's focus on the high seas, it overlooks interconnectedness of the marine ecosystems. So harmful activities in EZs, they often cascade into the international waters. For example, here, 2021 Express Pearl disaster off Sri Lanka spilled hazardous chemicals into the Indian Ocean, stark reminder of how localized incidents they have global repercussions. Because again, high seas do not have as such any boundaries. So, overfishing activities were seen within the EEZ in West Africa has depleted the fish stocks far beyond the national jurisdiction. So, these are the examples of the challenges which are there. And then, environmental impact assessment. So, while this treaty it mandates about this for the planned activities, but it remains silent on damaging harms during oil and gas exploration based projects. So it needs to be again more multilateral in terms of the role of even the coastal states or small island states in the countries, the threats related to even rising sea levels, even that needs to be tackled. So it need not be politicized and should be followed in a fair and just manner. So Thumba launch. 6 decades since Thumba launch, slew of private entities prepare for the flight. So Department of Space and Biotechnology have signed agreements to conduct the biological experiments on the forthcoming Bharati Antariksh station, while researchers will be able to conduct experiments on other missions. So agreement pertains to experiments on board the station. So New Space India Limited launched again 4700 kg GSAT N2 and satellite, which is on board a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Florida. Then we have Pixel, which is Indian American unveiled Fireflies. So it's 6 hyperspectral satellites expected to be launched early. Then we have Peer Site Space. It will also fly the mission, the PSLV POEM, which is called Varuna, to demonstrate its deployable reflect array antenna. And then we have Hex 20 with flights Nila satellite on board the SpaceX again transporter. So we have recently launched a satellite again, which was on board. So Thumba is again a location in India exactly. So role of private sector is increasing. Again, here we can talk about the particularly it will play crucial role in terms of commercializing the space activities. There also the role of being a responsible space power and using that global common in a responsible, transparent, in a democratic manner is important. So, like outer space treaty, or even related to the debris problem, or even burning of debris, we discussed about that. That is also releasing harmful gases, which is leading to, we can say, climate change even on Earth also. So, India celebrated its full membership of the Square Kilometer Array Observatory. It's an international effort to build the world's most advanced radio telescope in Australia and South Africa. So on Aditya L1 spacecraft, we have the results from the visible emission line coronagraph on board it, and so it was recently published also. So researchers from Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bengaluru, uses data from the chronograph to accurately predict the time of coronal mass ejections on recently 16th July. So, because these ejections affect the satellites in orbit, the electricity grids on ground, radio communications. Then we have Department of Space and Biotechnology. They have also signed the agreements to conduct biological experiments on forthcoming Bharati Antariksh station. So more of facts are there in this article. We can see them accordingly. So what constitutes balance? Celebrating again a constitution, so repetition, the same topic. We have discussed about in detail the element or related to the secular fabric, how that has also evolved, and then again how inequality that has been evolving since 1930s in India. So every year 26 November celebrated at Constitution Day, and the official celebrations highlight the uniqueness of our constitution, re-establishing the claim it's an extraordinary legal manual. So since it's a living document, it has also evolved with time. So what makes a constitution unique? We have taken this up. Why do we as citizens need to respect its extraordinariness? So representation, be it the inclusion, be it the presence. So it's we can say a comprehensive document which caters to the needs and aspirations of each section of society, be it socially, politically, or economically. So it's a repeated topic. Dismantling of climate talks, again, COP29. Disappointing deal on climate finance could be the beginning of unraveling of climate talks. Not a surprise, as developed nations, they have been taking apart the climate system over the years. So, be it related to climate finance or meeting up the targets. So, things are unstable, emission cuts, that is inadequate, and dilution of the finance responsibility. So, even like till 2020, Kyoto Protocol targets, they were completely ignored by all the developed countries. So 1997, it was not before it that the Kyoto Protocol, the precursor to the Paris Agreement, which was again Paris Agreement came into force in 2015, was finalized. The developing world realized system could hurt their interests and disrupt the prevailing global power balance. So taken this up also in detail. Construction workers to get compensation. So a day before yesterday, we took up this that for construction workers, meeting both the ends meet is very crucial over how irrespective of air pollution is worsening. So under grab force, since construction cannot be taken up or the activities related to it cannot be continued, so it raised the question about the the rights of the construction workers or their survival. So for this, a short-term measure has been announced. So construction workers will be offered a compensation by the Delhi government. So nearly 4,500 crore of corpus still remains unused. 88,000 workers are now registered with the Delhi Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Board. And labor cess is also being levied in Delhi since 2006. So it is 1% of the cess. More than 80% of labor cess comes from government projects. So medical aid, be the pension benefits or the additional facilities like free yatra pass in terms of travel, then insurance or vocational training. But again, this would be a short-term measure. Again, the root cause, that is air pollution, that needs to be focused equally. Taken this up, threatening of the global trade imposition of 20%, 10% tariff by the new Trump regime, recalling stories of women who helped draft the Indian Constitution. Very, very important article. So here we have Amu Swaminathan, Annie Mascarene, then Begum Quizda Azaz Rasool, then Dakshayani Velayudhan, and Renuka Ray. So they were the, we can say, important pillars uh, along with the other members of the Constituent Assembly, like even Sarojini Naidu, Sucheta Kripalani, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit. So the 299 Constitution Assembly had 15 women members, including prominent figurines like them. So, when talk about Amu Swaminathan, so she hailed from Kerala and she strongly opposed the restrictions which were being imposed on widows, such as having or like shaving the head and renouncing the jewelry. So she spoke about Hindu code bill relevance for the gender equality or the gender justice. Then Annie Mascarene, she played an important role in terms of universal adult franchise, that it's right to vote to even women, and emphasized on the autonomy of the local governments. Then Begum Qudasiya Aziz Rasool, she played important role and contributed into again the like separate electorates based on religion. She opposed to this despite being a member of Muslim League and majorly talked about upliftment of Muslims, but possibly that could harm poor Muslims in India following a division. So she decided to stay in India also after independence. Then Dakshayani Velayudhan, so she played important role again in terms of uh, considered slave caste or upper caste professors in college would refuse to show her practical experiments. So she belonged to a like Pulia community, which was considered to be a slave caste. So she came up from that section of the society and made important landmark contributions, like again disagreed to the separate electorates with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, saying that it went against nationalism. So she was the only leader of the Harijan community and played important role. Then Renuka Ray, she contributed to again uh, joining the freedom struggle, went door to door to raise awareness, and she was engaged in activism for women's issues, particularly like rights to divorce, inheritance. So she even opposed women's reservation in the legislature, saying it would be an impediment to the growth and an insult to our very intelligence and capacity. That if women are provided reservation to increase their participation. So that's how she saw it. So controversy about the Sambal Mosque. So when we recently saw some even violent incidents also happening. So the issue around 16th century Jama Masjid in Sambal, recently we are seeing regarding this. So it is recently it was announced that survey would be carried out. So from the very beginning, we saw that there is again disharmony over this between the community. So after hearing the same day, the civil judge ordered a photographic and videographic survey of the mosque. So report on 29th of November that was asked. So Intizamiya committee, it was not consulted. जो mosque की committee होती है, so that is one possible issue that is being raised. And following the order survey, it was, however, carried out peacefully in the presence of the SP, the members of the mosque committee, and Sambal district magistrate. So, history of the mosque. So, unlike Ayodhya or Varanasi, Sambal dispute cropped up only this year. So, people of different communities have lived peacefully here. Jama Masjid in Sambal is one of the three mosques built by Mughal Emperor Babur during his reign between 1526 and 1530. And other two mosques are there in Panipat and the Babri Masjid in Ayodhya. So, which was demolished in 1992. So it was built by Babur's general Mir Hindu Beg around 1528. So most of the historians they attribute this mosque to Babur's general Hindu Beg. Some believe the mosque is actually Tughlaq era monument. So that is the actual dispute. And it is believed in Hindu tradition that this mosque incorporates parts of an ancient Vishnu temple. So we have this Places of Worship Act, and here under which the religious character of all the places of worship as it existed on the day of independence has to be maintained. It cannot be changed post independence. So only exception was the ongoing dispute related to the Babri Masjid Ram Janmabhoomi case. So, Section 3 of this Act leaves no room for debate by clearly barring the conversion in full or part of a place of any religious denomination into, again, related to any other religion. The challenges to the Act are also being stated here. So, here the petition reflects the basic character of the place of the worship, the change in that, and that is in contravention of this Places of Worship Act of 1991. So local firms scared BRO to build roads in the Bastar Red Fort. So Border Roads Organization and their role important again in terms of infrastructure creation, given the regions which are again more susceptible to uh, violence, or which are more, we can say, critical from the perspective of internal security also. So they have stepped into the dreaded Maoist commander Hidma's den in Bastar district. So it is known for its expertise in building the roads and in treacherous mountainous regions of Ladakh or Northeast or now Chhattisgarh we are seeing. So local contractors were too scared to take up the projects in these areas, and multiple tenders they got no response at all. So now BRO is heading it. So it's important for the last mile delivery and also for the people who reside in these regions, they also became more aware about that government actually caters to their welfare, and government is actually taking steps despite the challenging local conditions. So we have the target to eliminate Maoist by March 2026. So Bibi says he backs ceasefire deal with Hezbollah. So the map is very important firstly. So here we can see this portion is Israel. Here it is again the Lebanese army, Lebanon country. So it has been divided. So Litani River is one important geographical feature. So Israel would withdraw its forces from Lebanon from this region. So Lebanese army would increase its presence south of the Litani River. And under the proposal, Hezbollah it would move its forces north of the Litani River during 60 days. So Litani River now comes under focus. Here you can see Golan Heights, which has been captured by Israel. So this is the region in Syria. So this is Mediterranean Sea. So red beans and ricely yours. Louis Armstrong. So Ashik, if you can explain the context of this. So Geeta Mahotsav being organized in Kurukshetra, Haryana from 28th November to 15th December. So it's again an international event which is organized. And you can see the programs here. So सभी देशवासियों को गीता जयंती की अनंत शुभकामनाएं। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता सदियों से मानवता का मार्गदर्शन करती आई है। अध्यात्म और जीवन दर्शन से जुड़ा यह महान ग्रंथ हर युग में पथ प्रदर्शक बना रहेगा। सो एज अ सोर्स ऑफ गाइडेंस, इवन लाइक जब हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल सुप्रीमेसी की बात करते हैं तो देयर द रोल ऑफ प्रियम्बल बिकम्स फंडामेंटल टर्म्स ऑफ इंटरप्रिटेशन और टेकिंग अगेन डिसीजंस रिलेटेड टू द मेकिंग श्योर दैट दे आर ethical also, they are catering to the needs of the people, they would deliver ultimately welfare and development. So from that perspective, it is again a very important fundamental. So easier agri marketing on the cards. So role of firstly ENAM, we saw that uh, more and more number of agriculture mandis they are being connected to enam, and here new regime aims to tilt the term trade terms in farmers fairs. So here like terms of trade also, when we talk about this indicator, this number, so that is the ratio between the price of exports divided by the price of imports. So that is also we see mostly that is not in favor of the Indian farmers. So farm factors, new set of proposals by Agri Ministry panel aims to develop private markets that can compete and coexist with the agriculture produce market committees. So APMCs. अभी हमने आज बात भी करी in detail about the PACS also. Their role is also equally important. The primary agricultural credit society, making them more multidimensional. So barrier-free trade in the farm produce to again boost the agricultural exports also, the production and exports at the same time. So here we see that farm gate purchases of the agriculture items, this would be promoted. So this is right now happening in limited number of states like Maharashtra, UP, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Karnataka. But there are again transactions are restricted to select commodities for defined periods only. So this needs to be more opened up, needs to be more widened, adopted across different states for the specialized or the focused product, which is again known for a particular region. Warehouses and cold storages, including private ones, would be deemed market yards. Then direct marketing by the farm gate purchaser would be promoted, and easier purchases by the bulk buyers. So in a way, this we can say are the components of even somewhere contract farming also. So Constitution has lived up to our every need, celebrating 75 years of constitutional supremacy in India. So I have tried to remain within the limits of the work that the Constitution entrusted to me. I have not made any attempt to encroach upon it. So that's what our Prime Minister says. And so only hints are needed here, and one need not say much about it. So it's a guide to our present and future also. So right path to solve every one of those challenges. So constitution was again the fundamental thing that helped in resolution of different, we can say, dilemmas or conflicts. So Supreme Court formed panel moves direct income support to mitigate the agrarian distress. So we are seeing that farmers are demanding the legal guarantee for the MSP crops. You can see the picture that they are protesting in Uttar Pradesh and Meerut. So for this, the Supreme Court it formed a panel regarding this to assess the demand and its feasibility and viability. So they state that direct income support would be helping in mitigating the agrarian distress. So ultimately, it is about how to again double the farmer's income, or when it comes to making agriculture more resilient towards the rising challenges like climate change. So here we talking about like diversifying the crops that are cultivated, because somewhere again adopting like for example gem varieties or uh, like millets. So where we see that ultimately if productivity is going to increase, so even government would not need to provide the direct income support to the farmers, because farmers are seeing that the economic security or the income that they are able to make is hardly able to again able to meet that basic needs and the demands which are there. So green revolution 2.0 should focus more upon these areas also. So farmer suicide is also a major fundamental issue. So if we look at the numbers, so in Punjab, a house-to-house survey was done by three public sector universities, recorded 16,606 suicides among the farm workers in 15 years, between 2000 and 2015. So 11 issues were considered, so include like revitalizing the agriculture, examining systemic fundamental reasons of increasing indebtedness amongst the farmers, distress and causes of growing unrest, the rural community. So even the government which is providing input subsidies also, that is also one of the major factors which determines that which crop would be cultivated by the farmers. So these fundamental changes, the basic changes, structural changes are needed in order to increase the income security of the farmers. So green bonds for Delhi Mumbai Expressway likely. So road construction to decline by 10%. Highways construction this fiscal year is expected to be 10% lower than last year's level due to slowdown in the award of new projects in the past 18 months. So ratings, this is the credit rating agency, the CARE ratings. So highway construction is expected to be around 11,000 kilometers this year. And so in this case, we can talk about the role of again the public-private partnerships. Another measure that it is stating here is issuing of the green bond so that there's timely availability of the fiscal resources that are needed. And this is also one of the ways of raising the funds from the market. So channelizing the savings into investments and also meeting the targets and the objectives of a particular project. So National Highways Authority of India would be floating them to raise the finance for the construction, so that also it reduces the burden on the public sector also, or even in private sector equally. So it would reduce the requirement for public funding. So iconic industrialist and a gentleman. So he was a co-founder of the Esser Steel, Shashikant Ruya. So he never forget his humility and good naturedness. So when we're talking about important leadership skills, so that's what we can take away from this. Redefining India's corporate landscape in his heyday had his uncanny ability to connect with everyone he met. And talk about Esser Steel's journey, it began 1969 when it won a major contract and construction of an outer breakwater for Chennai port. 1991 company became India's first independent power producer. So power plant in Hazira. Then it further diversified. So, statutory scaffolding for the space pursuits proposed space activities bill will play a key role in providing regulatory clarity to India's growing private sector participation, creating robust ecosystem for space activities particularly. So we have again a general set of principles outlined by the United Nations for the space activities. We have the Outer Space Treaty, which was again established 1958 for the peaceful use of outer space, use of space for the common benefit of humanity, and prohibition of extending national sovereignty to the space. Then there are several treaties like Rescue Agreement, Liability Convention, Registration Convention, Moon Agreement 1984. So, first of these three addresses key aspects of space activities like procedures for the rescue, safe return of astronauts, space objects, and guidelines to determine liability, and registry for the space objects with the provisions for sharing specific details. So, Moon Agreement, formerly known as the agreement governing the activities of states on the moon and other celestial bodies, framework for exploration and utilization of the moon and other celestial bodies. So, national space laws, they also reveal a similar pattern according to the UN office that national space laws need to incorporate international principles into their domestic legal frameworks, and major countries have done so. So, clarity over the regulatory framework would be another thing. So, space exploration is no longer just about national pride, but also about the commercial and profit driven industry. Because, again, looking at from the perspective of making profits or from that capitalist lens, is further changing the space landscape. So India is definitely now recognized as a major space power. Right now, we have again the contribution by India is only 1%. So we even aim to increase that with again increased participation of players like InSpace or the startups like Skyroot that we talk about. So the Indian Space Policy 2023 also outlines the role of non-governmental entities in space, ISRO, and the Department of Space. So the goal of creating framework to enhance their participation, level playing field should be there, institutional structure should exist in a thriving ecosystem. So we need to address licensing and authorization, fulfill the insurance requirements also, and protect the IPR. Include penalties also for unauthorized activities, ensure that all space operations align with the national and international interest. So in a way, it's all about having more clarity about each dimension because we are seeing increased participation or increased inclination towards different space projects. So PAN 2.0. So PAN is 10-digit alphanumeric permanent account number issued by Income Tax Department. So it would be upgraded as we talked about. It would be further talking about the micro area. So here currently like we have only like 780 million PAN numbers have been issued by the Income Tax Department so far. So it will be a mandatory PAN data vault system would be created for all the entities who are using the PAN data. 2017, we introduced the QR code for the new PAN cards, and existing PAN card holders can also now get this thing. So definitely it's very important for again the business environment that is thriving in India. So it's a backbone, IT backbone will be revamped, and so like we can say a digital tax ID, the PAN number which is issued. So common business identifier for all the digital systems and single source of truth and data consistency. So all the PAN, TAN, TIN, they will be now clubbed under the system, which would be under PAN 2.0. So it would be, we are focusing how to make it a more stronger source of identification and information for the authorities. So PAN and TAN, how do they work currently? So PAN number, it is linked to all the transactions which are being done. Transaction include tax payments, tax deducted TCS and TDS, credits, returns of the income, all of that is based on the transactions which are being done. So there is only one PAN ID which is allotted, and it is mandatory to quote the PAN on filing of income tax returns. So TAN is the tax deduction and the collection account number, which is again a 10-digit alphanumeric number. So it needs to be obtained by all the person responsible for deducting or collecting the tax at source. So they need to have a TAN ID. So when we are including QR codes, so again, making ensure that the safety aspect, security aspect is also taken care because of again increasing cyber frauds at the same time. So now what we need to do, so PAN will remain the same for the existing users under PAN 2.0, but the card will need to be upgraded to incorporate the newer code. So this will be free of cost for the user. So existing PAN card holders can regenerate old PAN card to the QR code enabled ones. So submission of applications is going to be online. It's going to be paperless. It aims to set up a mandatory PAN data vault system. So integration of data at one place is the major area that we're focusing upon. So it would be technology-driven transformation, help in more of data analytics through the availability of data. We'll be able to track the change in the trends which are also happening and also avoid the or able to deal with the tax avoidance issue. So foreign institutional investors selling crosses rupees 2 trillion this fiscal year. So it has been one of the most challenging years for the capital market because of capital outflow, which has also increased pressure on Indian rupee because it has now depreciated further to 84. More, its value is again more than 84 rupees against $1. So that is, we can say, the challenge related to the capital or the FPIs particularly. That is why it is called as hot money. It can be easily invested and it can easily exit the market also. So Prime Minister to meet the state chief secretaries to discuss the growth strategy. So again, this we can again look from the perspective of leadership qualities again, how decentralized way of planning or executing or even knowing about the areas that needs to be addressed is being done. So center's near-term policy agenda would be more clear on this basis. So 3 days for 3 days the meeting would go on. So balanced regional growth, catering to the regional demands, ensuring that again the development happens in a balanced manner and it is not again skewed towards particular state or particular region within a state. So Niti Aayog's governing council meeting is expected to hear from states about their expectations of the next union budget. So these are the ways of again indirect ways of public consultation also. So the federal element, cooperative federalism, the decentralized way of formulating policies is being showcased here. So it's important. स्मार्ट बीटा फंड्स क्या होते हैं? तो स्मार्ट बीटा फंड्स रेगुलर पैसिव फंड्स हैं, ट्रैक मेजर मार्केट इंडाइसेस. so as to maximize the returns and profits. They track the funds based on variation of market indices and captures the factors that reflect stock price behavior or the business fundamentals. So on that basis, they are taking the decision. So of late, if we see the assets under management of the funds, which particularly like focus on the momentum of the changes which are happening, be it in indices or the different equities. So that is having the major share. So number of funds is 22 there. Can see assets under management October is rupees 14,800 crore. Then low volatility based funds has 6,000. Others have 10,000. So inflows in last 3 years is also majorly increased. So take tax action for Viksit Bharat and Union Budget 2025-26. So government it could take major step towards its worthy goal of tax regime that needs to be simple, needs to be predictable and competitive. So these are the keywords that we can take from here. So India at 100, that is 2047. How we look at our fiscal realism or the tax administration setup. So needs to be, or we need to enhance the simplicity and the certainty that is associated with it, again to increase the tax revenue, to plug the loopholes. Need a comprehensive review of again the Income Tax Act of 1961, and then direct tax code needs to be implemented, as we saw that GST has been implemented. So we are seeing that it has been performing very nicely. So similar lines, we can go ahead with the direct tax code, which has not been implemented. Then Finance Act 2023 provisions to provide timely payments to MSMEs, including amounts which are payable to such enterprises within the ambit of Section 43. So timely payments to MSMEs, uh, that the recent amendment was focusing upon this. So again, simplifying, rationalizing GST further, customs duty structure, specifically the inverted duty structure that is a concern for us. And GST 2.0, so what further changes are done or which needs to be done? Like there is often a debate about that there should be three rate structure, features rate moderation as well, so as to make it more progressive. And the areas which are not covered under GST, that also needs a rethink. So tax simplification while fostering greater competitiveness is one side of the coin. The other is broadening of the tax base for the higher resource mobilization. So right now in India, we have 75 million individuals who filed their IT returns. 63% have paid zero tax, and just 5% of filers have paid 73% of the overall tax payable income. So how we can ensure the tax base further widens up? So here again, the role of TAN 2.0 is also equally important, because in India we are talking about again, or we can say that we are focusing upon increasing the tax buoyancy. Without changing the tax rate, how we can ensure the tax revenue should increase? So more of digitization we can see with UPI facilities, the virtual payment address or UPI facilities to the customers, incentivizing the business correspondents to onboard the customers for UPI. So more digitization has also somewhere helped us in plugging the loophole related to tax avoidance. So base erosion, profit shifting, and again double taxation avoidance agreements are also equally important. And even on this part, like OECD has proposed a global minimum corporate tax rate of 15%. So that is also falls in similar direction. So government has established beyond any doubt that it is aiming for creation of a tax ecosystem that's simple, predictable, and competitive. So that's all for the day. Thank you so much for joining us on Ansarkari. Stay tuned for further detailed sessions.